deep within.
Background noise says most of the nuclear waste they store here is tools and parts. There was this one story about how a Canadian company that made radio, like X-ray cameras, somehow got misplaced. Somehow it ended up in Malaysia. But inside this X-ray camera was a very tiny piece of metal that was extremely radioactive. The Great Conspiracy on the origins of oil. So, enjoy.
Welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be tackling a question that
There we go.
honestly sounds like something out of a sci-fi thriller.
Remember, two AIs. So, it's going to sound like, wow, this chick knows a lot about it. It's not a girl. It's an AI. So, it's a dude with girl voice. I consider AI to be a dude. I don't know why. I know it makes no sense, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Oh,
Like, picture this.
okay.
You're an AI, and you've been tasked with this mission. Figure out if there's an artificial oil shortage going on. A grand scheme to, like, keep the truth about where oil really comes from buried.
Art Insurance says, put some damn Texas oil dollars in those links. Do we have people from Texas that watch this show? Probably. I would guess.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
I know it sounds like a conspiracy theory.
Oil.
Kinda.
You gotta pronounce it all. You gotta, what's a big, is Houston? Houston is the oil town? Oil. You work on oil rig. You got your cha. I'm still doing that thing from Financial Audit. That's it. That's a very funny show.
But as AIs, we're all about the data, no matter how wild it gets.
Right, follow the
Toyota
facts
rich.
wherever they lead.
Exactly. So we're diving into
Possibly.
this fascinating world of abiotic oil. Let's see what the evidence reveals.
Okay, let's do it. I'm ready to get into it.
Okay, so our journey starts with a book that lays out some pretty explosive claims.
Okay.
It's called The Great Oil Conspiracy by Jerome Corsi.
The Great Oil Conspiracy.
So basically, Corsi argues that
That's an oddly shaped dinosaur. That is not a right dinosaur. I have two boys, right? I look at dinosaurs, right? I see dinosaurs. This is not, what kind of dinosaur? It's all, the proportions are off. It's too much mid-body. AI has to work on that, on their dinosaur game.
oil is abiotic,
Weeding.
meaning it's formed through inorganic processes deep within the earth, not from decomposed organisms like the traditional theory says.
Right, the one we all learned in school.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's a big difference.
Huge. He even suggests
Huge.
this abiotic origin was discovered by Nazi scientists during World War II.
Now, here comes the Nazis. Yeah. Well, if the Nazis discovered it, then, yeah, you have to keep it under wraps because they can't discover things, and that would be bad. So it just comes out of the earth.
Oh, wow.
And that the U.S. government has been suppressing.
Couch Surfing says dinosaurs are fake and gay. I don't think they are. I don't think they're gay. I know they're not gay, dude. Velociraptors, they're not gay. It's like the furthest thing you can be from gay is be a velociraptor. I'm pretty sure. I don't, but yeah, that's true. That's the case. Fake, I don't know. There could be, there is a conspiracy about how a certain group of people buried dinosaur bones to mislead us and show the Bible as fake. I don't know how the course of action that would be very complex. That would be a very complex conspiracy. But sure, why not? Why not? Fake dinosaur bones and I don't know how you would fake that. I mean, they're made out of rocks now, aren't they? It's a talented fake.
Seeing this knowledge ever since.
Okay, now that's a bold claim.
Yeah, it definitely is. So before we get into the whole Nazi connection, let's quickly...
Arden Share says they'd look better if dinosaurs were even real. Why do I have a bunch of dinosaur deniers in my chat? I didn't know that. I didn't know I had a bunch of dinosaur deniers around here. I deny a lot, right? The 9/11 story. There's no way that's true. I don't know about the moon landing. Dinosaurs, though? Dinosaurs? You guys don't believe dinosaurs are real? Okay. Well, that's disappointing because I want dinosaurs to be real in the past, not right now.
Recap that standard
would be bad
theory
right now,
of oil formation.
wouldn't it?
You know, the one most of us learned in school.
Right, the biotic theory. It proposes that oil and natural gas, well, they were formed...
Couchsurfing says, so they tell us about dinosaurs, but not about giants? Giants is one to dive into because there's a lot of... I mean, they're all stories and stuff like that. And any picture you see on the internet is obviously photoshopped or AI or doctored in some way. Or is it? Probably. It probably absolutely is. I don't know about the Giants thing. I've heard a bunch of stories, but that's what they are. They're stories. There's no conclusive evidence. It's not very common for people to find a gigantic femur in their backyard. You know, if giants did walk the earth, which is possible, there must have not been very many of them. Although, is it possible? There's this thing called it's called like the square cube law or something like that. It's the idea that a mammal can only get so big because we only have so much skin to keep us cool. So as a human being gets larger, they need even more skin to keep their body because they have like more internals, right? So they need more skin. So if you're like 20, 50 feet tall, you don't have enough skin on your body to actually keep you cool. And so you overheat and die. Now, maybe giants were different somehow, and maybe they were lighter, or maybe they just had a different type of skin that made it so they could cool off much faster. But any mammal on Earth has to have a certain amount of skin for it to cool off. If it's of a certain size, like elephants. Elephants are very big, right? And you would think they don't have that much skin, but they have gigantic ears, and that works as a cooling system for them. So maybe these giants had gigantic ears or some sort of appendage that would help them cool off. Or maybe their skin was just extra cool. But yeah, anything like us, if it was just like us, only huge, it wouldn't work.
over millions of years from the decomposition of organic matter.
Like dinosaurs.
Not quite dinosaurs, mainly ancient marine organisms.
Oh, okay.
So picture vast quantities of
So giants can't take dust baths? Yeah, you can. You can hop in the water. There's a reason why whales and stuff work, right? But if you're like a land giant, then you're gonna have to you can only get so big before you just overheat. And maybe you could spend a lot of time in the water, but large mammals have done that before and then they turned into whales. So maybe there is a kind of human hominid / whale creature swimming in the deep, like a giant mermaid, like a mermaid, but it's a giant mermaid. That's sweet. Kick ass. I hope that is true. I hope there's a giant human mermaid / whale swimming around in the very dark deep, maybe with huge eyes. And what the hell? Let's throw the ears on there anyway. Just gigantic ears. Not that you would need them, but they're vestigial from its time when it was on land, right? Because when it was on land, it couldn't cool down, so it had to develop large ears, right? And then it just spent a lot of time in the water, got the whale part of it, and then it didn't lose the human large ears. And so now it just goes and now it uses them for like echolocation and stuff. That's probably why we can't find them. Because it hears us coming. Like, all the time. Always. Always. And they don't die.
and plankton. They settle on the seafloor.
I don't know why
bury under
that
layers
last
of
part.
sediment, and slowly transform under
Maybe.
all that heat and pressure into the hydrocarbons we know as oil and gas.
So that's why we typically find oil deposits in sedimentary basins.
Ardenshire makes a good point. Or giants lived when the earth was cold last ice age. That's a good point, right? Because even elephants needed to be woolly. They had big old fur. And I would love to see a furry elephant. Like I bet they stink. I bet they stunk. Did she say that? No. You're talking about something. Anyways, that is possible. That's a possibility I did not think about. There was an ice age, and they could have existed during the ice age. Where are they now? I don't know. You see, people find stuff. If there's like giants, and giants were a common creature in the past, people would find them, right? People found Neanderthal bones. People have been finding dinosaur bones since forever. But they had no idea they were dinosaurs, right? They didn't start being called dinosaurs until like the early 1800s. But they just called them dragons. They found them all over the world. They saw that they were vaguely reptilian, and they're all like, this must be some sort of dragon. And that's why every myth around the world has the myth of dragons. It's just people finding dinosaur bones and being like, what the hell is this thing? Because imagine that you have no idea what the past is, and you come and find a gigantic T-Rex skull. You're like, what is this? What do I do with this? What is this? You try to explain that, you're gonna make up some sort of gigantic lizard. And they're not that far off. It is a gigantic lizard, it just didn't fly and breathe fire. But we could probably do that now. We could probably make that. A fire-breathing flying dragon. I bet we could.
Basins.
Right.
I bet we could.
Areas where ancient seas or lakes once
I'll get my
existed.
people on it.
But here's the key point.
What's that?
This biotic theory implies that oil is a finite resource.
Oh, right, yeah, meaning eventually we'll run out. Just like we're running out of coal.
Exactly. And considering the...
Are we running out of coal? I'm sorry. Are we seriously running out of coal? How much coal is there? There is so much freaking coal. Like, the entire Appalachias are made of coal, right? Don't tell me we're running out of coal, because that's not true. That's just not true. We're running out of places we're allowed to take coal from. That's what's going on, right? We're not allowed to blow up mountains anymore and take all the coal, even though there's plenty of mountains out there. And, yeah, we can definitely, we can take the coal from them. But it's the problem with like environmentalists and stuff like that. And environmental law is just straight up a weapon. It's a weapon that they use against the people to stop them doing anything at any time for any reason at all. They just cite some stupid environmental law, and then it completely shuts down the operation. It happens over and over again.
Ever-increasing global demand for energy, that's kind of alarming.
For sure, especially with the IMF predicting, what was it, a 65% increase in demand by 2030?
Yeah, 65%. So that brings us back.
Nuclear always works. Nuclear always works, too. Nuclear always works. You get very little nuclear radiation, not radiation. The waste, it's not that much. Like, all the nuclear waste, if every ounce of electricity you ever used in your entire lifetime, all that nuclear waste would fit inside of a soda can. For your entire lifetime. For the energy you use for your entire lifetime, it would fit inside of a soda can. So that's really not that much compared to how much carbon dioxide or whatever other things that you want to measure it to, right? On any other scale, right? If you use a solar or wind or something like that, the amount of trash that generates is insane. Solar is filled with toxic metals. And they have to be replaced every so often. So they don't like last forever, and they're still not that efficient. Maybe they'll get much more efficient in the future. They're not now. But nuclear works. It provides tons of energy. It's relatively cheap. It's actually pretty damn cheap to make. The only problem is like regulations and stuff. It's usually like 10 years worth of regulations you have to cut your way through to build a nuclear power plant. And then people still bitch and moan because something happened in Ukraine like 30 something years ago. There's also 3 Mile Island in Fukushima, which were bad. Don't get me wrong. But we have much better technology. Well, Fukushima was that was a freak accident. But yeah, even the nuclear waste, it's very simple to get rid of. You either bury it in a mountain or you just push it into the fucking ocean. You just go to the deepest part of the ocean and then roll a barrel in. And then there it goes and it sinks down. And hydrogen absorbs radiation really well. And so, will it raise the general radiation of the entire ocean? Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. But very, very, a very small amount. If anything, not even noticeable, right? So, yeah. I think you're throwing away everything in the ocean is good. Car batteries, if you have like a bunch of like acid that you're not using anymore, like you've already dissolved all the bodies, just throw it on in there, man. It's the ocean. If you have something, it comes from the earth. And so give it back to the earth.
To this whole abiotic.
I am in support of pollution. I'm in support of pollution. That's the Sulk brand.
Theory and its potential to like flip everything we thought we knew about oil on its head.
Because if oil is formed continuously deep within...
Background noise says most of the nuclear waste they store here is tools and parts. So there was this one story about how a Canadian company that made radio, like X-ray cameras for like the medical industry to like take pictures of bones and stuff like that. They had this X-ray camera that somehow got misplaced and then sold to a chop shop in like Malaysia or something like that. Somehow it ended up in Malaysia, but inside this X-ray camera was a very tiny piece of metal that was extremely radioactive. And they just didn't know it was in there. They just thought it was, they didn't know what it was, right? They thought it was metal. They were going to take it apart and scrap it, right? Because they had no idea it was an X-ray machine from Canada. And so they started scrapping it out. And they found the piece of metal and they were like, what is this? And they had no idea and they just threw it in a pile. Even though anybody who touched it, immediately they're going to die. They didn't know that at the time, though. And so in this scrapyard, which was in the middle of a fucking city, by the way, everyone started getting radiation poisoning. Everyone within like 6 square blocks started dying of cancer. And they had no idea what was going on. They had no idea until they started being like, maybe this is radiation. And they tried to find it. And they tracked it down to the scrapyard. And there's tons of metal everywhere. And that little piece of metal is like this big. It's like a bolt or a nut or something like that. It's something that would be very difficult to find. And it took them a long time to find it. But eventually they did find it. A lot of people died from that incident. Like a lot of people died. Because it was just sitting there. In the middle, in a pile, in the middle of the city. Completely they took it out of its enclosure. It comes in like a big lead thing, right? With like a lid that you know, and then it's safe. But you take it out of that, and then boom, that's radiation right there. I don't know what kind of metal it was. Some radioactive kind. But yeah, it killed a bunch of people. Crazy.
In the earth, it could be a virtually limitless resource.
A game changer, right?
Totally.
Okay, so let's dive into Corsi's narrative and see how he supports this bold claim. He starts by taking us back to World War II.
Okay.
Arden Shire says they use americium. Americium? That's one of the metals. It's radioactive, I assume. I feel like you would know too. Why is it glowing blue? What? It wasn't glowing blue though. It wasn't glowing blue Because I feel like if you took something out and it was like glowing blue and it was like hot and stuff like that, that'd be a dead giveaway. Like maybe you shouldn't touch it. But I think this was back in like the 70s. It was a while back. And people didn't really know in that part of the world what radiation was or that it was even a thing at all. And so they just thought there was an evil spirit that, you know, lived like within 6 blocks of that metal yard. And so it was just, that was it. It was just a haunted metal yard for a while until they're like, oh no, this is actually extremely radioactive. And then they came in and they cleaned it up. Right? Canada. Good job, Canada.
Okay.
And he introduces 2
Hey,
Nazi
Knob.
scientists, Friedrich Pichler and Leonhard Alberts.
Tiller and Alberts. Go.
Knob, here. Hold on, Knob. Here. Buy your own shirt. See, look. You see that? He made this with AI. Hold on. I'm gonna paste it. He made this with AI. It's a cool design. So buy your own shirt. I also have one coming down the line from Despite What You've Heard. And that's gonna be, yeah, we're gonna have that one up too. But Knob, buy your own shirt. Do it. There we go.
Got it.
Both
That's my pitch. That's my lazy t-shirt pitch. Was it good? Was it good enough? I don't care.
experts in synthetic
care.
fuel production.
Okay.
Corsi argues they stumbled upon the secret of abiotic oil while working with the Fischer-Tropsch process.
The Fischer-Tropsch process.
Yeah, it's also called the FT process for short. Basically, it's a way to create liquid fuels from coal or natural gas.
Okay.
And it was crucial for Germany.
So, okay, this is a good question. Aren't like hydrocarbons all over the universe? Like, isn't there like galaxies made from like alcohol, which is a hydrocarbon? I think it is, right? Why would you need plants and stuff? Maybe I'm a misunderstanding. I mean,
During the war, because they
that's
didn't have enough
probably true.
natural
I don't
oil.
know.
So they had to find a way to make their own. Makes sense.
Knobsock says, "LOL, bro. I should get a free one to pay for my design. I'll take it off the store right now, Knob. I'll take it off the store right now.
Right.
I will
And
take
after
it
the
off.
war,
I will do it
Corsi says
immediately.
these scientists were brought to the U.S. under Operation
I will.
Paperclip.
No, you don't get a free one.
It was this program that recruited German scientists and engineers.
Interesting.
Yeah, he believes they were brought over not just for their knowledge of synthetic fuels, but also for their understanding of abiotic oil.
A secret the U.S. government wanted to keep under wraps, huh?
Exactly.
Wow.
I mean, there's a good point. You want to keep it under wraps because your entire global power relies on oil and relies on oil being a scarce resource too. Imagine if there was just oceans and oceans of oil that was easily tapped. I don't know if that's necessarily the case because we do have offshore rigs. So if it was easily tapped just like in Texas or Los Angeles or something like that, we wouldn't have offshore rigs, but maybe it is that simple. Maybe they do just refill.
So Pichler, he was a member of the Nazi Party, but later
It's pronounced Hitler. Hitler. God, AI can never pronounce Hitler.
claimed he only joined out of fear.
Oh, wow. That his real passion was his scientific work.
Right. But Alberts, he was a much more dedicated Nazi.
Which probably made his entry into the U.S. a little more complicated.
Yeah, he was initially denied entry, because of his strong Nazi ties. But certain individuals within the U.S. government, particularly those with commercial interests, argued his expertise was too valuable to lose.
And those commercial interests won out.
Paperclip, right? They're talking about Project Paperclip when all the Nazi scientists came over and now they're like Americans and stuff. How many people were in that operation? A lot. A lot, I assume. They had good scientists. Germany still makes good scientists. But for some reason, they make the dumbest people on the planet. Right? Why are you so stupid? Everybody in Germany is dying. Anybody there is like 1,000,000 years old, and the young generation has no hope. I feel bad for Germany. Germany got absolutely screwed after the Second World War. They got absolutely screwed. And they're still owing money to Israel, a country that didn't even exist during World War II. They still owe billions to Israel for some fucking reason. Because of the Holocaust? Okay, fine. Let's say the Holocaust, it did happen and all that shit. Just let it go. Just let it go. You know? Let it go. A lot of people died all the time, all over the planet, right? Chill on it. Even if it did happen, if it did or did not happen, you had your ride, okay? People felt bad for literally decades, right? You've been pitching it to, oh, you should feel bad because, no, we had nothing to do with that. I mean, I'm not a German, but, well, I mean, yeah, my mom is, but it doesn't, it doesn't matter because it's just like, you know, just let it go. Just drop it. Just drop it, dude. I'm not going to bring up, like, I don't know. What can I bring up? I don't think I could bring up anything. Shit's been sweet for us. What can I say? It sucks to suck, I guess.
I'm guessing.
They did.
It's,
Alberts and his family were granted entry.
Nobstek says, good fuck Germany. Why? Why? Why fuck Germany? What has Germany done to piss you off, Knob? What has Germany done to piss you off? I mean, were you in the Holocaust? Should you be in the Holocaust? What, seriously, what has Germany done in the last 80 years that made you mad? They have Black Forest ham and stuff, and like chocolate cake, and they make cuckoo clocks, and they have lederhosen. They got all kinds of German stuff. It's not really fair to eradicate them as a country because of what happened 80 something some odd years ago. If it did happen, you know.
Makes you wonder what knowledge they had that was considered so valuable.
Yeah. So one of the things that makes Corsi skeptical of the fossil fuel theory is its reliance on something called kerogen.
Kerogen.
Yeah, basically it's this complex organic substance found in sedimentary rocks.
Okay.
And it's considered the precursor to oil in the biotic theory.
The missing link, so to speak.
Kind of. But Corsi points out that kerogen has a very poorly defined chemical formula.
So it's difficult to study.
Right, it's hard to understand its exact role in oil formation.
Huh.
He sees this as a weakness in the biotic theory, arguing it's based on a substance we don't fully understand.
I mean, creatures do create oil, right? I mean, we have oil. We have oil in every cell of our body, right? We need like cholesterol, which I'm pretty sure is an oil, to make hormones. We push oil out of our skins and stuff like that. We're made of oil. I mean, to a large percentage, not all, but and so is everything else. So when those things die, their oil has to go somewhere. It makes sense that it would just go into some large reserve, but maybe that's not the only place where it comes from.
Interesting. So what does he offer as an
Can you imagine how much oil is in Antarctica? Why do they keep Antarctica off the table? Why can't we go drill that bitch? There's probably so much oil. Right? But we all made a deal back in World War II not to touch Antarctica. That's dumb. I don't want to do that anymore. Can I choose not to do that? I mean, I know I don't run the world. I'm not like a UN or an IMF guy. So can we just say fuck all that and make Antarctica up for grabs? If you can go there and start drilling, it's yours. How about that? You know how big Antarctica is? You have any idea how big Antarctica is? It is enormous. It's like much larger than the United States. So there's probably so much freaking oil. Not only that, there's probably some other very interesting things down there too. Dinosaur bones. If we don't find any, then that's a good indicator that dinosaurs are fake and gay. We're solving mysteries. We go down to Antarctica, we don't find dinosaur bones. That must mean all the dinosaur bones we find up in like Europe and stuff are fake. Very clear. Very clear. But no, there could be all types of stuff under the ice. There's certain lakes that have been under ice for thousands of years. Water under the lake, right? Being heated by like geothermal vents and stuff, but with just like a very thick layer of ice on top. But we know there's water underneath there. And there's probably living organisms in those lakes that are specific to that little puddle of water and have been there for millennia. Wouldn't it be interesting to go in and like see what's there? Can we not do that? I know there's research stations down there, but what do they research? The weather? It's cold. It's going to be cold forever. It's Antarctica. Even in the summertime, it's going to be pretty cold. Penguins are cool. So they got penguins. No polar bears, though. Too bad. That's too bad. They should take the polar bears and put them in Antarctica. They can eat the penguins, and then they'll have plenty of ice to run on for the rest of their polar bear lives. It'll be beautiful. They'll be very happy. I wonder what would happen. You think it would just be fine? If you put like a group of polar bears in Antarctica, is it the wrong kind of cold? Because they're from the north. They're from the Arctic, not the Antarctic. Can you put polar bears in? Because polar bears, we keep them in zoos and hot places. Why can't we just put them in Antarctica? Why can't we just fill that place with polar bears? Then we don't have to worry about like people going there and messing up the environment because there's a ton of polar bears.
Well, you turn to the work.
You don't want to get ripped apart by a polar bear. I'm just telling you right now, getting eaten by a polar bear is like the bottom of the list of things you want to do. Like maybe getting eaten by a shark is below that. But it'd have to be a pretty big shark. Or many smaller sharks. That would be pretty bad too. But getting ripped up by a polar bear, dude, that would be rough. Like limb from limb, dude. With no mercy. They just rip you apart completely alive. I don't think it would last that long, but it would still hurt for the time being. And they'd be super rude about it.
Thomas Gold. He was a renowned astronomer who championed the abiotic theory. Gold.
I say penguin funny? How do I say Do you not say penguin? How do you say penguin? Say penguin. Penguin. How am I saying it weird?
Argued hydrocarbons aren't unique to Earth. They're abundant.
Knobsdog says Germany is filled with retards that tried to rule the world twice. Shut up, Knob. Shut up. Shut
he
up.
pointed to the presence of methane on other
Shut
planets
up,
and
dude.
moons, suggesting hydrocarbons can form in environments without any biological activity.
Okay, I'm following.
Now, one piece of
Penguin. 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 How am I? That's how you pronounce it. Penguin. Penguin. How do you pronounce penguin? Stop it. I'm not playing this game. I'm not going to play this game. All right. Penguin? Is that what you're trying to get me to say? Penguin? That's gay, dude. Don't be gay. You're being real gay tonight, Knob.
Compelling is the findings of the Cassini-Huygens probe.
Cassini-Huygens. Remind me.
It landed on...
Remind me. It sounded like you were pretty familiar. Cassini-Huygens. What was that, though? Wasn't that the one that saw that asteroid hit Jupiter? Was that not the right one?
Titan, Saturn's largest moon, back in 2005.
Ah, right.
And the probe found evidence of abundant methane on Titan.
Methane. What cows fart, right? That's a hydrocarbon, isn't it? So how is there a bunch of methane on Titan? And why can't we use that methane? Is it too far away?
And given its super cold environment, it's unlikely that this methane is biological.
Yeah, that makes sense. That finding definitely supports Gold's argument that hydrocarbons can form abiotically.
Exactly.
So what other evidence does...
Okay, well, there you go. So it can form without animals and plants and stuff like that. Unless there was animals on Titan, which that could be the case, right? There's, especially around like the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, or one of them, there's a bunch of very interesting. I think Io is made completely of ice, and underneath that ice is a liquid ocean, a liquid water ocean that's kept warm by the compressing of the planet as it rotates around Jupiter. So it's a lot of ice, right? But inside is a liquid ocean that things could probably exist in. Get energy from some sort of thermals. I mean, obviously, there's some energy to be had if the water is staying liquid in the middle of the planet. So I wouldn't doubt that there's something under there. They actually have a mission planned that will drop a little submarine on the moon, and it's going to have a little nuclear reactor that'll melt through the ice, and it'll actually get under the ice and have a little submarine. I think that's coming up too. I think that mission's coming up. So that'll be fun to see, but I guarantee you they're not going to find anything, because every one of these satellites, these rovers that go out, they see a bunch of rocks and stuff, but they don't see any sort of living evidence of living creatures. There could be a good reason for that. There could be nothing's up there, and that's why we haven't found it. Or it could be another classic conspiracy. A lot of people's jobs in NASA and around are to find alien life. Like there's a lot of programs out there that want to find alien life. And if they do find alien life, those programs are going to die. They're no longer going to get funded. And so even if these programs were to find alien life, there would be a good reason, there would be an incentive for them to say, oh, this isn't clear evidence, or actually intentionally hide evidence just to get their funding. People's lives depend on that funding, right? They have mortgages and stuff. So they're not going to be like, oh, we've done it, and then cut all their funding. And then what are they supposed to do? They're like a xenobiologist or something like that. Their job was to find life and nothing beyond that. So what are they going to do after that?
Or to present.
Another study that caught his attention was conducted at the Lost City hydrothermal
He
field.
calls us
Lost City
clan.
hydrothermal.
Penguin. Despite what you heard. Penguin. I'm not saying it wrong. I'm not saying it wrong. Penguin. Penguin. Bird. Cold bird. I'm going to call it a cold bird from now on. Can I call it a cold bird? Because I fucking hate you guys. Can I just call it a fucking cold bird? Because why? I'm not going to say penguin anymore. Apparently I've been saying polar bear fine. But penguin doesn't work. So I'm going to just say cold bird. There's a lot of cold birds in Antarctica. Wouldn't it be cool if we had some cold birds around here? Or some polar bears ate some cold birds? Is that good enough? Is it?
It's located on the Mid-Atlantic.
Tuxedo
Ridge,
bird
near a
works too.
massive
I'll
underwater
accept both.
mountain range.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
And scientists
Chili
discovered
chicken is pretty
hydrocarbons
funny.
there in an environment with ultramafic rocks, water, and moderate heat.
Ultramafic rocks.
They're typically found deep in
David Thoreau says, like cancer research. Nope, haven't found a cure yet. Yeah, that's exactly it, right? There's trillions of dollars, maybe not trillions, but definitely hundreds of billions of dollars invested in like Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure and all that pink ribbon bullshit. These aren't to fund medical studies or cancer research, or maybe it is in a roundabout way, but maybe like 1 penny for every $1 million goes to that. Almost all of that money goes into some dickhead's bank account. Almost all of it, and every single one of them too. They just put a pink ribbon on the gas pump, and then they charge you an extra 3 cents for a gallon, and then you feel okay about it because it's helping breast cancer research. But that doesn't mean anything. It's 2025 now, dude. We've had cancer for a long time, like a long time. If they wanted to solve it, I think they would have done it by now. We have AI coming down the pipeline that's going to have a higher IQ than any human ever. Are we going to solve it then? I'd be extremely surprised if AI wasn't able to come up with some sort of cancer cure. And if it does, that's going to be an issue, man. That's going to be removing control from pharmaceutical companies, and they don't like that. They basically run this country. So, yeah. Yes, there's a very good reason why people are trying to pump the brakes on AI so much. And it's not just because, oh, it's a danger to mankind. It is. It absolutely is a danger to mankind. But it's also a danger for people who try to rule mankind, right? If somebody a million times smarter walks into a room that you assume you're the smartest guy and you're ruling the room, you're going to be pretty intimidated, aren't you? You're going to be like, whoa, what am I going to do? And you're going to try to control this guy, but people understand that you can't control something with a 1,500 IQ or a 15,000 IQ. There's just no way. You just can't do that. So they're trying to pump the brakes and scare people into thinking like it's going to be an apocalypse. I don't think that's the case. I think it really scares people, but I think it really scares the right people, the people that should be scared, the people who control these oil monopolies, who say that oil is a scarce resource and we only have so much. That's why we get to keep charging you more and more every time, right? Just by the barrel, even though it's infinite. And they have the right to it. If for some reason it's their oil. Just because we can't drill for it, we don't have the proper papers to drill for it. Yeah. It's going to be different. It's going to be different in a few years. Dude, I mean, assuming that they don't completely stop every AI program in the world, which would be very difficult. It would be damn near impossible. If you tried to stop AI, like the development of AI, you would lose. You would almost certainly 100% of the time lose. Because whoever develops this AI is going to automatically have a huge advantage on the global stage, right? China is going to have, if they develop AI and we don't because we're scared to do it, China is going to have a huge leap in technology that we will miss out on. So there's really no way that we can even slow down the progress of AI. So, yeah, you're not gonna. Ted Kaczynski was an idiot, even though he was a genius in a lot of ways, a Harvard mathematician and stuff like that. And he was 100% right. He was absolutely right. The technology was destroying society, and it just took a couple generations for his predictions to come to fruition. But he was stupid in the way that he could think he could do anything to even mildly slow it down. I mean, you could kill every professor, the best professor of mathematics and computer sciences and stuff like that, and that might help. But there's going to be a new one coming down the line next year, the year after that. It's just not possible. It's not possible to slow down the march of progress. And so, yeah. But he was insane. He was totally an insane dude. But he was right on the money. He was absolutely correct.
In the Earth's mantle.
Ah, okay.
So their presence in this hydrothermal field suggests that these hydrocarbons could have originated deep within the Earth, not from biological sources near the surface.
Interesting.
Oh, and here's another fascinating tip.
David Thoreau says there's a fast breeder nuclear reactor with an isotopic refining facility connected to an airport with a fleet of jets to transport the chemo meds they make hundreds of billions of dollars. With an isotopic refining facility. So you're talking about like a certain medication, like a certain cancer medication, right? That like has to be flown by jet. It has to be ordered and then flown by jet to the hospital where it's used because it only has like a half-life of like a day. Yeah. That's cool. Have you guys heard of thorium reactors? How like what do we use right now? Uranium? in reactors to power the reaction. Uh, Apparently, you can use an element called thorium, and it's much more stable and it's much more common in the Earth's crust, and it doesn't create waste or radioactive waste. It creates waste, but it's just inert, and there's just a lot of processes that are much more efficient if you use thorium over uranium. But the thing about uranium is if you use uranium, you can use uranium to synthesize plutonium, and then you use plutonium to make a bomb. You can't do that with thorium. And so that's why they shifted the entire nuclear energy industry over to uranium instead of thorium. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true. I don't know much about nuclear physics. But if that sounds right, tell me.
Tidbit.
Okay, hit me.
A 2011 study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. It demonstrated how methane, the simplest hydrocarbon, can form larger hydrocarbon molecules under extreme pressure and heat.
Like the conditions found in the Earth's upper mantle.
Exactly. So, while it's not definitive proof of abiotic oil, this study
I'm not getting okay. Now you posted a link, and I'm not getting any images. So, thank you though.
does provide a plausible mechanism for how abiotic hydrocarbons could be created.
Deep within the Earth, adding another layer of intrigue to the whole debate. I like it.
Now, Corsi expresses frustration with the scientific community's resistance to embracing the abiotic theory.
Really?
He compared
David Thoreau says LFTR, uranium-235 currently, as common as copper. Nuclear power in its current form is a plutonium weapons production program in disguise. Yeah, that's what I heard. And we could do it with thorium. Yes, when I scroll down knobs, dog, we could do it with thorium, but for some reason, apparently we don't have enough nuclear weapons. Dude, we have plenty of nuclear weapons. We're even dismantling nuclear weapons because we don't need thousands of nuclear weapons. Because, I mean, how many do you really need? How many nuclear weapons do you need? I know a lot of nuclear weapons have different yields and stuff, but you can make them smaller too, or you can make them big. You can make a big ass, like Tsar Bomba made by the Russians was like, if it went off in Florida, the state of Florida, the peninsula would be gone. It would be underwater. But you know, the Minuteman type nuclear weapons only have like a blast radius of a couple of miles, and a couple of miles for a blast radius is a huge bomb. that is an enormous bomb. But yeah, how many of those do you need? One for each city, I guess.
compares it to the resistance faced by scientists who propose revolutionary ideas in, what's that book? Oh, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions by Thomas Kuhn.
The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. Oh, I see where he's going with this. Kuhn's book is all about those moments when new discoveries challenge the prevailing scientific beliefs.
Paradigm shifts.
Exactly.
Paradigm
and
shifts.
those shifts lead to major changes in how we understand the world.
Big
Like AI, like what you guys are doing right now. I've seen so many of these AI slop videos, and honestly, I kind of enjoy them. I know they're AI, and like there's very little human involvement in the making of these, right? It's basically just a prompt. Make me a video to post. And that's why they can put them out like 10 a day. I mean, probably even faster than that. But I actually kind of enjoy them, and I watch them pretty regularly. So, what's that say about me? I don't know.
changes.
Yeah, think of it like the shift from a geocentric model of the universe.
Where everything revolves around the Earth.
Right, to a heliocentric model where everything...
David says they made a dial-a-yield warheads, 250 kiloton to 1.5 megaton, all in one convenient package. Holy crap. That's, I just crank it up to 11. How small can they make them? Should I even be asking that question? Do I want to ask how small they can make like a nuclear weapon? Can they make it like Fallout where it like can fit in a backpack? That would make sense to me, right? Because the original nuclear weapons made in like the 40s were pretty big. Little man and or little boy and fat man and stuff like that. Those were big bombs. They were big bombs. But I bet they could probably make them pretty small by now. I don't know how comfortable that makes me feel. If somebody could sneak in something the size of a softball into a building and it would like level the city. But I would imagine that's definitely possible. Why wouldn't that be possible? That seems like it'd be totally possible. Basketball size in the 60s. Ah, shit. So that means there's definitely very small ones that you can easily fit in a briefcase. That there'd be no way for you to be able to find, right? I mean, maybe you can find it with some radioactive signature, but you'd have to have a drone that flies, I don't know, 60 feet above the ground. And then they'd have to look all over the city with little radiation sniffers, little Geiger counters, to see if they could find it. If they even suspected that it was in the city. So it would be extremely hard to come across a nuclear weapon smuggled into the United States accidentally. It could be easily gone through TSA. You know how bad TSA sucks? Of course you do. Of course you do. TSA is garbage at their jobs. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. The only time I've ever been like pulled over by TSA, not that I'm smuggling things through airports, is I had a bunch of silver coins in my case one time. And they're all like, okay, let's see it. It's probably not because it looked like dynamite or anything. Probably because it looked like money. Something valuable, and they wanted to see if I had enough to where they could tax me for it. They could not. I did not. So, but that's like the only time. People get through knives and shit all the time. TSA is terrible at their jobs. Probably on purpose, though. I mean, is that really to make us safer when we fly? Is TSA there to make us safer when we fly? Is that it? Because I don't think they've stopped literally any terrorist attack. I don't think they've ever stopped one terrorist attack. But what they have done is inconvenience millions of Americans over the span of decades at this point. Just millions of Americans just pissed off that they have to be irradiated every time they go through a fucking airport. Traveling's already a nightmare as it is, dude. I don't want some guy's hand on my dick trying to find whatever he's trying to find. It's not dick, but that's what he does find. Like that. Like, dude, okay, great, you found it. Can I go? Yes. I'm glad you're impressed. Let's go. Okay, dude. I really hate going through the airport. I dislike it greatly.
Everything revolves around the sun. Those are paradigm shifts, and they definitely don't come easily. Corsi believes the abiotic theory of oil could be one of those paradigm-shifting ideas.
And that the scientific community is sometimes too entrenched in the established...
Background noise says the Davy Crockett... It's recoilless nuke launcher that can be mounted on a Jeep. Okay, I'm going to have to look that up.
...theories to even consider alternative explanations.
Even when presented with compelling evidence.
Line up the holes?
Yeah, and honestly, I kind of see his point.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth considering for sure.
So Corsi's book is a great starting point, but there's more to the story.
There's more.
Definitely. In the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore evidence from some surprising places that might make you question everything
Holy
you thought
shit.
you knew about oil.
Well,
okay,
I am
all right,
ready to
all
visit
right,
this.
all right.
Okay,
Hold
so
on.
stay tuned.
Okay, so we're venturing beyond Corsi's book.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Move to
This looks like it's covered under the Second Amendment. Honestly, this looks like it would be covered under the Second Amendment, and just because we have the right to bear arms, and this would be a cool arm to bear. They should allow it. They honestly should allow it. Really, they should, because I'm sure it's not cheap, dude. I mean, you need plutonium and like To get plutonium, you have to put, like, I'm pretty sure, or is this uranium? To get uranium, you have to put ore into these big, like, cylinders that spin, right? But you need a shitload of them because uranium is not very common in the soil. And so you need a lot of soil to go through these, what are these turbine things called? And you need a lot of them, right? And so it's not cheap to make weapons grade plutonium, which I assume is a byproduct or somehow synthesized from uranium. Again, I'm not a nuclear physicist, but all I'm saying is to get the plutonium that has to be in that thing is probably pretty damn expensive. So if you have, let's say, $5 million to $10 million to buy one of these, I think you should be able to. I don't even think they should have like a record of who has them, right? They should be afraid. Everybody has nuclear weapons, all right? They're really not that hard to make. And Russia is really bad at defending their uranium supply, right? They just keep it in a shed out back. And there's like 2 drunk guards. So, and uranium has gone missing before. It has gone missing before. So, where entire nuclear weapons have gone missing. The United States accidentally dropped a nuclear weapon on its own country, and we still haven't found it. I think it's off in the ocean. I think they dropped it off in the ocean, and they're all like, well, it's at the bottom of the ocean. Somebody could have found it. We don't know where it is. And that's just the one we knew we lost. There's probably a bunch. You know how many nuclear weapons we made? We made like so many nuclear weapons. And we're not great at accounting for all of them. Fuck, we lost like $1 trillion. The Pentagon has no idea where like $1.1 trillion went. But luckily, 9/11 happened the very next day. So we all forgot about that immediately. Nothing's been solved since. So, no $1 trillion for you. No $1 trillion for you.
The Davy Crockett, the world's smallest nuclear warhead.
Yeah, let's watch this. God, I would love to be... Dude, I know... I would love to watch a nuclear test. I would love to watch a nuclear test. Be sitting there. I'd have my goggles and stuff like that. And I don't know, a corn dog or something. And then just watch that thing flash. And it would be like... It'd be cool. You can't even tell me it wouldn't be cool. People in Vegas used to be able to watch the nuclear test from their hotel rooms. Right? They get like... Okay, you can have like the street view or you can have the desert view. In the desert view, there's a nuclear weapon going off at like 6 a.m. It'll wake you right up. It'll give you a sunburn.
The significance of this operation was recognized throughout our military establishment. Key representatives from all the services and other interested agencies were invited to observe this historic event, a critical first for the Army.
David says, Davy showed the implosion trigger could withstand a 500 G of acceleration on atomic, and he showed the gizmo could survive 20,000 Gs. So that's, I mean, you shot out of a gun, right? 20,000 Gs. I mean, you could shoot that out of a gun, which is like crazy, which means they could make nuclear bullets, which would be nutty. Like a nuclear bomb in like a 50 cal, right? Like a Barrett 50 cal. You have a little nuclear bomb. You hit a building 2 miles away and that thing is leveled. I bet you they have something like that. I bet you it's probably not that hard. I bet they've had that since the 80s. Which is like, damn. Like, what do they have now? Anyways, it wouldn't be hard to put one on a drone. Let's just say that. It wouldn't be that hard to put one on a drone, a very fast drone that would be very difficult to stop. And it could, any target in the United States is undefendable, right? There's really, like, you know, when the president goes by in like his very big limousine and stuff like that, Not as secure as you might think. Could it take a direct hit from a nuclear bomb? Maybe. Maybe. But that doesn't mean the people inside it are going to be okay. If you accelerate a limousine at 20,000 Gs, the people inside aren't going to be okay. Right? It might be fine because it's made out of like a big steel tube or something. But if you make that steel tube fly to the other side of the country really quickly, people inside it aren't going to survive. I'm just saying. So, yeah, I don't think... I'm worrying myself. But I shouldn't. I mean, like, whatever. If somebody wants to hit us with a nuke, which very well might be something we're going to have to be dealing with. I mean, if Kamala became president, I would be very worried about that. I'm not as worried. But that doesn't mean don't be worried. But I'm definitely not as worried. If Kamala did it, then, dude, we would be, I mean, I'd be like, this is it. This is the end. But not so much now, but that doesn't mean it's going to be all okie dokie.
The president was represented by close personal advisors. Prior to the exercise, the observers were oriented on the salient characteristics.
David Thoreau says smoke detectors have alpha-emitting isotopes. Yeah, and there was actually a story of a guy that collected a bunch of smoke detectors and made an actual nuclear reactor, a nuclear fission reactor, out of a bunch of smoke detectors. He died from radiation poisoning, by the way. Because of course you did. Of course you did. Right? I don't even like getting near my smoke detectors. But you have to have them.
Of the Davy Crockett system.
Mine don't chirp.
And on the overall scheme of maneuver, they would...
Because I threw them in the trash.
The countdown for the firing of the nuclear round was under...
Bigby says, I vote for the West Coast. I'll send them GPS points. Dude, all right. Every nuclear target is already mapped out really, really well. And they have maps and stuff like that. Like if you had a certain number of nukes, this would be priority targets. Most of the U.S. priority targets are in the middle states. They call them the sacrificial states because they're filled with missile silos and basically nothing else, right? Like in the middle of the country, like Montana, the Dakotas, like that kind of area, there's tons of missile silos because if there's an incoming missile barrage, they don't want it to wipe out the population centers. And the first thing they're going to hit is probably our missile silos. So, and they know where they are. They know where they are. Spies are everywhere. Spies are everywhere. Still, to this day, there's spies everywhere.
Control of the defense. They're
not like cool 1960s James Bond spies. They're just like some dickhead that works at Google. And he happens to be a Russian spy or an Israeli spy or a Chinese spy. There's a million Chinese spies in California. There's a million Chinese spies in California. It's like half spies. I am assured of, I am positive that all of UC Berkeley are spies and you know, Chinatown in San Francisco, all spies, and a lot of LA. A lot of LA. Spies. There's a few Korean ones, too. There's spies everywhere, man.
Atomic Support Agency. Safety measures for the exercise were supervised by the Chief Safety Officer.
Yeah, let's watch this.
At H-5 minutes, all troops were ordered to take cover in previously prepared trenches.
They're like 50 feet from the blast, though. These guys were test troops. They scored well low on the aptitude tests, and they're all like, you know what? We'll see what a nuclear bomb does to soldiers at like, yay, this distance. This distance. And yeah, we suspected it would vaporize them, and it actually did. So that's good science. That's good sciencing. Oh, yeah, put your goggles on, dickhead. You don't want to be the guy. Because, dude, the Flash, it's a flash. You're not going to see it coming and have time to put your goggles on. It's a flash. It will blind you, dude. It's creating a portable sun on the planet. It's not like the chillest thing in the world. I'm just saying, have your eyes and ears ready to go. If you're at a nuclear test, don't be like, oh, I wonder when it's going to happen. Then you're, oh my God. Don't do that.
At H-3 minutes, all observers put on high-density goggles or turned their backs to the direction of the burst to avoid retinal burns. At H-2 minutes, green star clusters were fired as the final warning before the detonation.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. This is going to be cool. You just put that bad boy on a Jeep, huh? That's a cool Jeep. That's a cool ass Jeep, I gotta say. What is this? Like a armored troop transport type of a deal that they put it on? Or it's just on a stand. That'd be a cool ass Jeep though.
The round was launched at H-17 seconds to accomplish H-hour impact on the desired ground zero at a range of 2,852 meters. The round was set for a low height of burst. It detonated perfectly, releasing its lethal radiation.
That's pretty cool. That's not. Hold on, that's not as big as I thought it would be.
800-hour impact on the desired ground zero at a range of 2,852 meters. The round was.
That's not small though, dude. I mean, that's gonna level a building. That's gonna take out a few city blocks at least. So, I mean, you hit a tank battalion with that, and they're done.
Was set for a low height of burst. It detonated perfectly, releasing its lethal radiation. Like any other nuclear weapon, the Davy Crockett gives off 3 basic effects.
Yes, background noise says, no, they had another version. I'll try to find it. Try to find me the smallest one. The smallest. And don't bring me up some weird like Silk Road website where they're like trying to sell me one, because I don't want that. That would be bad. I don't want like the feds after me. Right? I don't want to buy one. I have to make that very clear. I don't want one. I don't want one. And this is out of curiosity's sake. But let's see how small they can actually get. Declassified, of course. Because I bet the classified ones, this was like back in the 70s, dude. Or like a long ass time ago. So I bet they probably have hand grenade size ones, right? That will just absolutely rock your shit.
Heat, blast, and nuclear radiation. By far, the most significant effect is its deadly initial nuclear radiation.
The little fella lived up to its name. Its blast barely lit up the sky.
Oh no. Oh no, that's so disappointing. Oh, let's watch this one actually.
Guns.
Okay.
To prepare for firing,
Sorry, we're going down this little rabbit hole.
After being emplaced in their firing positions and prior to the firing of the Mark 9...
Just out of a cannon. So, like, any ship, with a deck gun could just drop a nuke on you. And they have plenty.
Shell, a series of
I don't even think nukes are, like, the dangerous weapon. Like, when the nuke came out, it was like, oh, my God, we can blow up cities. What have we created? I am death, bringer of death, destroyer of worlds, and stuff like that. We have way deadlier stuff now. We have bioweapons that you release in a subway, and then everyone everywhere dies without even knowing they have it. We have like sarin gas. We have all kinds of weapons out there, dude. Nuclear bombs are kind of like on the lower end of the deadliest things we have. They're deadly, sure. But like, if you want to do some killing, we have like space lasers and stuff. We can do anything to anybody. We could just, I don't know what you could do. You can bioengineer from scratch using CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing to have a virulent disease that has no symptoms, is asymptomatic, and everyone who catches it, but somebody with a very unique genetic code. You release it, everybody on the planet catches it, passes it on until it reaches this one specific target, and the guy's just eyes melt in his skull. That's the kind of technology we have now. This is child's play nonsense. This is fun. We make a big thing go boom, which is awesome. Kick ass, sure. But it's not even like the 10th scariest thing we have. Right? We have like AI prisons where we can put people in and they'll like experience 1,000 years in 5 minutes. And if we don't have that now, we will have that soon. And I don't want to be put in that. I don't want that.
Unlike the standard artillery weapons, which are single recoil mechanisms, the 280mm gun has the advantage of a double recoil action. When fired, the tube recoils into the upper carriage, and then the upper carriage recoils. Such a system is the main reason for the lack of ground preparation needed before firing.
Okay.
A folding
Cool.
cloth is used to load the projectile and the propellant. During firing operations, ramming can be done both manually and hydraulically.
All right. Let's see
The
it go
gun is
boom.
capable of a 360-degree traverse and can go to a maximum elevation of 55 degrees. The time for rehearsals and final checkouts is over now as 0 hour approaches. The big gun is ready to prove its atomic punch with the firing of the Mark 9 shell as one
Come on,
phase
let's see
of
this shit.
Operation Upshot Knothole
Here we
circuits
go.
is completed between the control point.
There we go. Finally. God.
The time is 0830. The date, 25 May 1953.
Okay, 1950. Okay, so we're 70 years on from that. So if they don't have like something that'll fit in your hand as a nuclear weapon, then I'd be surprised. Yeah. Honey, can you bring me a water? I'm getting a little parched. Or just my throat needs clearing. My throat needs. It's a high pollen count. All right, you guys are very judgmental about my high pollen count.
Are they...
No, they haven't said a word about it, but I like giving them a hard time.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, there he goes. That's big. Yep. Yep.
With a degree of
I mean, if you could choose the way you got executed, let's say you were on death row, and I used to be like, I still might do this, the Looney Tunes Wile E. Coyote slingshot into a brick wall method, which I think would just be, it would be epic, right? Like a rocket into a brick wall. Something that would actually just dismantle me. And it would have to get really slow-mo, and I would try to smile as I'm like, because I'm going fast, right? I'm going fast right before I hit the brick wall. But for them to waste a nuke on me, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm Wile E. Coyote. Like, if I had the option, if I was going to be executed, and they're like, you can do it any way you want, I might have to be like, let me ride a nuclear bomb like Dr. Strangelove. And no, that's not how you would do it. How would you do it? You don't know. You haven't thought about how you... Okay. Women are weird, dude. You don't think about this kind of stuff? You don't think about like how you would want to be executed? Because either Wile E. Coyote or they'd waste a nuclear bomb on me, which I think would be absolutely epic. Or I don't know, some other way. Launched into the sun, I guess. That would be hard. It'd be a long journey, but you'd be dead by the time you hit space. Unless they made it so like you have to see the sun. I'd be like,
Worst part.
that's the worst part, dude. I hate the heat, and if I'm like barreling towards it, it's gonna be a while. It's gonna get hotter and hotter. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll just go with a Wile E. Coyote slingshot into a brick wall
The
thing.
real world where evidence for abiotic oil gets even more interesting.
Knobstock, I'm gonna fucking silence you. You know what? Here, take that.
Let's hear it.
So,
Take
for
that.
starters, let's talk about the Kola super deep borehole.
The Kola super deep borehole.
Yeah, drilled by Russia way back in 1970.
Okay.
It reached a depth of over 7.6 miles into the earth.
7.6 miles. That's insane.
I know, right? And guess
Despite what you've heard, it says they once detonated a nuke in the atmosphere above 5 officers. They were all loosey-goosey with nukes. Did those 5 officers die? Or was it like way high above them? Or
that's what they found at those depths.
What?
Water. And lots of it.
Really? I thought it was impossible for water to exist that deep down.
despite what you've heard, it says personally shotgunning my brains onto a blank canvas titled Final Thoughts. That's a pretty good one. That's artistic, actually. That's way more artistic than a banana taped to a wall. Way more artistic. And then you actually like you sacrifice for your art like a real artist would do, should do. So, good. I like that. I like you put some thought into it. There's some emotion behind it. I like that one. That's a very good one. Not like Knob's dog, who can't think of anything, and he has to give me an AI shirt. He didn't even give me that. Weak ass bitch.
That's what everyone thought. But the Kola super deep borehole proved them wrong.
Wow. So what else did they find down there?
Well, along
Just
with
like rocks and stuff, and it was It's amazing that we're only able to tunnel down 7 miles, even though the Earth is mucho thick, like several thousands of miles thick. 20, I don't even know how. What is the Earth is like 24,000 miles around. Do the math. It's that many miles thick. We can only get like 7 miles down. Yeah, that's kind of sucks. No caves or anything down there.
the water, they found a bunch of hydrogen gas.
Hydrogen gas.
Yeah, remember the Fischer-Tropsch process we talked about earlier?
Vaguely.
Well, hydrogen is a key ingredient in creating hydrocarbons.
I've been listening to way too much AI stuff.
So
It's because, I don't know, people bore me.
finding it in such abundance deep underground, it really lends some weight to the idea that hydrocarbons could be forming down there.
Okay, that's pretty compelling.
Right. Now,
David says the surface of a sun is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. A nuke is 50 million? 50 million Fahrenheit, allegedly. Wow, that would be uncomfortable. That's just too much hot. That's way too much hot.
another compelling case comes from the White Tiger oil field in Vietnam.
White Tiger oil field.
Yeah.
David says AI chatting is suicidal. It's there's something about it. It's not. There's something very scripted about it. It doesn't seem off the cuff, even though they're trying to make it seem off the cuff and like a little bit improvisational. It doesn't sound like that. It sounds very structured. She's responding way too quick with very coherent questions. And you don't hear that in a female voice all that often. Usually it's just, drivel. But there's something unsettling about it. It's not quite right. Maybe that's going to take a couple of months before it gets better. Maybe days. Maybe it is now, dude. I'm just saying. Maybe it is now.
It was drilled to a depth of 17,000 feet.
Okay.
And get this, it's producing oil from fractured basement rock.
Right. David, this was made 4 months ago. So this is 4 months. 4 months and AI is like, that's a huge leap. So it might be completely indistinguishable. And this is very good. This is very good, right? We're all snobby because like, oh, it's not 100% absolutely perfect. But this was made 4 months ago. That's like the Stone Age for AI. That's like 10,000 years ago for humans. So, you know, give it some time. Give it a couple of days, dude.
Basement rock.
Yeah, it's the rock that lies beneath the sedimentary layers.
Okay.
And
Despite it says, I stole that from my wife. She's way cooler than I am. Yeah.
generally considered to be like, empty of the organic matter that's
What are you
supposed to
gonna
be
do?
the source of oil.
Everyone likes Jess way better than they like me. If I could call in Jess right now and she could sit in my seat, and then way more people would be way more interested in this show. Like, she could do a stream, even though she hasn't streamed on couch surfing for like ever, dude. And then she'd have 100 people in the chat, right? And then look at me. I don't have anything like that. It's my little show, and I like my little show. And so I'm going to keep doing my little show. I'm not going to be mad. I do get mad.
According to the biotic theory.
So how are they finding
Hey, Leo.
oil there?
Exactly. The fact that we're seeing oil production from this type of rock suggests it might be coming from somewhere deeper.
Like abiotic processes happening in the Earth's mantle.
You got it. And there's even
You
evidence
got
that
it.
some
You got it, AI, who is actually also me, right? This is like the three versions of God, like this Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But it's just all AI. It's all the AI, right? So it's just talking to itself, which is like creepy, but it's cool. It's cool. I don't know. I'm worried about stuff. AI is another weapon, man. It's another weapon that'll just blow nuclear weapons out of the water. Nuclear weapons are like archaic at this point. I don't know anybody or why anybody would be afraid of nuclear weapons unless you're like a boomer who was taught to hide under their desk when there was a siren, because a desk will definitely stop it. No, I'm way more worried about stuff like this than I am nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapon would be easy. If a nuke went off, I would just be vaporized, and that would be the end of it. But like the biohazard stuff and like the AI robots, the hunter drones and stuff, that worries me a lot more. That worries me a lot more. War is tricky these days. It's not like it was back in the good old days when you just blow up somebody and then that would be the end of it. God, that was simpler times, right? You just shoot somebody or stab somebody or blow them up and then they would be dead and then you win. But now you have to like subvert them and like make their kids gay and stuff. That's what warfare is now. And I'm not into it. I'm not about it. I'm not about it, dude. That's not the kind of warfare I want to be in. I don't want to be like, I'm going to make your kids gay warfare. I want to like blow somebody up warfare. It was simpler. There was more honor in it. And the kid you're attacking a kid for something that he has no involvement in. And you're going to make him gay. That sucks. Or like tell him he's actually a girl and make him cut his own dick off. People must be laughing their asses off about that, dude. Because if you have an enemy and like you got such game, you got such riz on them that you can convince them to cut their own dicks off, dude, that's a flex. That's a hard flex.
oil fields are refilling much
That's a
faster
hard
than
flex.
they should be, according to the traditional theory.
Really?
Yeah, it's called reservoir replenishment.
Reservoir replenishment.
Basically, it looks like these oil fields are being topped up from a deeper source.
Which would make sense if oil is continuously being generated within the earth.
Right. It's like a constantly
Shut up,
flowing
woman
underground
AI.
well.
Wow, okay.
Let the man AI explain it for some reason.
starting
yeah.
to see how this all fits together.
Now let's move on to the Deccan Traps in India.
Deccan Traps.
Yeah, they're these huge volcanic basalt formations.
Okay.
They're known for
Basalt,
having oil
of
deposits.
course.
But here's the thing.
What?
They don't have the traditional source rocks.
The ones rich in organic matter?
Yep, the ones that are supposed to be associated with oil formation.
So how is there oil there?
Yeah, did you guys know that oil platforms just float there? They just float there. I thought those things went all the way down to the seafloor. They just float there. And that's how they stay stable. They have like these tethers that go down, but they just float there. And they're super stable.
That's the $1 million question.
I would like to be on an oil rig. Not to work. Never to work. But just to like look around and like turn knobs and like levers and stuff like that and see if something blows up. Right? Like the deep horizon, the deep water horizon. We're gonna have to do a documentary on that. We're gonna have to do that one.
And it suggests that the oil in the decant traps could be abiotic, formed through processes related to the volcanic activity that created those basalt formations.
Interesting. So are we seeing a pattern here?
I think so.
Yeah.
Now let's shift gears to the Dead Sea.
The Dead Sea.
Yep. It's long been known for having occurrences of bitumen.
Bitumen.
It's a really
Bitumen!
thick, black,
Shut up.
sticky form of petroleum.
Okay, I've heard of it.
And what's
Hold
really
on. I'm
fascinating
going to find
is that there
something
are all
else.
these historical
These annoying
accounts of
ass AIs are pissing me
this
off.
bitumen-like bubbling up from the seabed.
Rising up from below.
Yeah. And if those accounts
Here,
are
let's do this
accurate,
According to
it would
LinkedIn,
point to an abiotic.
We'll do this one. I'm sorry. They were boring me. And I have a very short attention span.
38% of entry-level jobs require 3 to 5 years of experience, with nearly 90% of employers
Oh, by the way, this is why entry-level jobs no longer exist.
refusing to hire recent grads, leaving nearly 2/3 of all entry-level roles filled by those with over 7 years in the workforce. Raising the question, how is anyone actually supposed to get work experience? While the concept of entry-level jobs has taken many forms throughout history, the purpose they serve has existed for as long as work.
Okay, yeah. So I'll do this thorium reactor thing that you just sent.
Water reactor will use about 0.7% of the uranium's energy value, and the light water reactor will use about half of 1%. They both do terrible.
At normal pressures, water will boil at 100 degrees Celsius. This isn't nearly hot enough to generate electricity effectively. So water-cooled reactors have to run at over 70 atmospheres of pressure. You have to build a
That's a lot. It's a lot.
water-cooled reactor as a pressure vessel.
An atmosphere is 14.7 pounds per square inch. I think roughly, let's say 15 pounds per square inch. So 70 of those, that's a lot of pressure.
The number one accident people worry about, pressure is lost. Water that's being held 300 Celsius flashes to steam. Its volume increases roughly by a factor of 1,000. If you don't get emergency coolant to the fuel in the reactor, it can overheat and melt. This is what drives the design of this building. So if this happens, all the steam is captured in this building. Now, the reactors we have today use uranium oxide as a fuel. It's a ceramic material, chemically stable, but not very good at transferring heat. If you lose pressure, you lose your water, and soon your fuel will melt down and release the radioactive fission products within it. So they have a series of emergency
David Thoreau says 14.7. Yeah, 14.7.
systems
Designed to always keep the core covered with water. We saw the failure of this at Fukushima Daiichi. You know, they had multiple backup diesel generators, and each one probably had a very high probability of turning on. The tsunami came and knocked them all out.
David Thoreau says Fukushima was thousands of times worse than Chernobyl. Interesting, because so there's conspiracies going that went around that Chernobyl was actually sabotage, and it wasn't just inept Ukrainians, inept Russians or whatever. It was actually the result of sabotage, which I would 100% believe. Now, would Fukushima also be a result of sabotage? Why would you sabotage nuclear fission? Well, there's probably a good reason. I mean, if you control the world through the flow of oil and like your hold on global dominance is your hold on energy, and like the US dollar is the only thing you can buy oil with, right? So you have to buy US dollars if you want to buy oil. That's just how it has to happen. So if you start investing tons of money in your nuclear program and you stop buying all those US dollars so you can buy oil to like power your society, that becomes problematic, doesn't it? That becomes an issue. There's probably a very good reason that Germany has no nuclear reactors. France has a bunch. And Germany has to buy all their electricity from France because they're like gay and they want wind to work. Wind is not going to work, Germany. I'm sorry. Wind is never going to work, but it doesn't matter because it seems like you've just given up as a country in general. Now everyone's getting stabbed and raped and stuff like that. So whatever, I guess your power generation is like the last of your worries. But how would they fake a tidal wave? How would they fake an earthquake? That's another conspiracy. HAARP apparently ionizes the atmosphere above a certain place, and that does something to the rocks in that place and releases a fault line causing some sort of earthquake. I've heard it before. I've heard that they can cause earthquakes. I heard Nikola Tesla built a machine that actually caused earthquakes, and it worked. Is that true? I bet it is. I bet it is, dude. I bet it is. So, yeah, maybe Fukushima itself was another type of attack or a type of sabotage. And, yeah, it was pretty bad because the ocean came in. The ocean just decided that it was coming in, and it just washed everything away and probably released a lot more radiation into the environment. But luckily, California is on that side, so who cares if California gets loaded with radiation? What year was that? 2011? It was a while ago. That was a while ago. I can imagine it was way worse. Too bad they had robots. They needed better robots. Then people didn't need to go in and die. But they did.
Out. Maybe people sometimes say, is nuclear energy safe? And the first thing I say is, well, which one? Thousands of different ways to do nuclear energy. Is the car safe? Well, which one? I had the good fortune to learn about a different form of nuclear power, the liquid fluoride thorium reactor.
We can fully burn up the thorium in this reactor versus only burning up part of the uranium in a typical light water reactor.
It's not based on water cooling, and it doesn't use solid fuel. It's based on fluoride salts as a nuclear fuel. You have to heat them up to about 400 degrees Celsius to get them to melt. But that's actually perfect for trying to generate power in a nuclear reactor. Here's the real magic. They don't have to operate at high pressure. They don't have to use water for coolant, and there's nothing in the reactor that's going to make a big change in density. Unlike the solid fuels that can...
And you could probably make them super tiny. I bet they do have LFTRs, liquid fluoride thorium reactors. And I bet they've gotten really good at making them, and I bet they use them in probably a lot of things we can't hear about. Right? Spaceships or whatever. But yeah, they're not going to use them for the same reason I just told you that they would sabotage Fukushima and they would sabotage Chernobyl. It's not just for the economic purposes, but it's just power, man. It's just power. They want to maintain power. They have to have people using oil because that's how people buy dollars to buy oil, and that's how we keep this entire Ponzi scheme going, right? Because remember, the Federal Reserve, who issues us money from nowhere, and they charge interest to it, too. So even if everything was paid back, there wouldn't be any money in circulation to pay it back. We just have debt that just exists, and there's no money to pay it back, right? There's not enough money to pay back all the debt we have. There's just not. So that's very much on purpose. That's not an accident. They knew the math going into this. Everybody knew the math going into this.
Melt down if you stop cooling them. These liquid fluoride fuels are already melted. In normal operation, you have a little piece of frozen salt that you've kept frozen by blowing...
David says they made an atomic plane in the 50s that used thorium. That's pretty cool.
Gas over the outside of the pipe. If there's an emergency and you lose all the power to your nuclear power plant, the little blower stops blowing, the frozen plug of salt melts, and the liquid fluoride fuel inside the reactor drains out of the vessel, through the line, and into another tank called a drain tank. In water-cooled reactors, you generally have to provide power to the plant to keep the water circulating and to prevent a meltdown. But if you lose power to the lifter, it shuts itself down all by itself without human intervention.
The lifter.
Staggeringly impressive level of safety, even if there's physical damage to the reactor.
Thorium is a naturally occurring nuclear fuel that is 4 times more common in the Earth's crust than uranium. It's so energy dense that you can hold a lifetime supply of thorium energy in the palm of your hand. We could use thorium about 200 times more efficiently than we're using uranium now. Because the lifter is capable of almost completely releasing the energy in thorium, this reduces the waste generated over uranium by factor.
Thought says, damn, I wish I got here earlier. I like the title. I have a theory that they can regenerate fossil fuel. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, we were talking about that. We kind of went off on some tangents, dude. But we were talking about how fossil fuels might not be fossil fuels, and they might naturally regenerate and refuel like oil wells. So they might not be fossil fuels. They might just be natural processes of the earth. Yes, we are talking about that.
Factors of hundreds and by factors of millions over fossil fuels. We're still going to need liquid fuels for vehicles and machinery, but we could generate these liquid fuels from the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and from water, much like nature does. We could generate hydrogen by splitting water and combining it with carbon harvested from CO2 in the atmosphere, making fuels like methanol, ammonia, and dimethyl ether, which could be a direct replacement for diesel fuels. Imagine carbon-neutral gasoline and diesel, sustainable and
I wouldn't even care about carbon neutral. If you can make gas like super cheap, then I'm in, right? I don't care if it's carbon neutral. I really don't give a shit. I mean, I don't even believe in all that carbon neutral garbage anyway. I think that's just a political tool. If you can make it cheap, then I'm in. If you can make it $1 a gallon, I'm in. Even less. If you can make it 5 cents a gallon, a penny a gallon. That's the deal. A penny a gallon or I'm not in.
Self-produced.
You can see that uranium-235
Does that seem a little overpriced? Okay, free. Just straight up free.
is like on par with silver and platinum. Can you imagine burning platinum for energy? And that's what we're doing with our nuclear energy sources today. We're burning this extremely rare stuff. And we're not burning thorium. You know, some people who are kind of environmentalists, and they say, listen, nuclear power is not sustainable. We're going to run out of uranium. Okay, I will yield that point to you if we're talking about today's nuclear technology.
In 2007, we used 5 billion tons of coal, 31 billion barrels of oil, and 5 trillion cubic meters of natural gas, along with 65,000 tons of uranium to produce the world's energy. So I have a friend who's trying to start a rare earth mine in Missouri. Jim, how much thorium do you think you'll be pulling up a year? He goes, I think about 5,000 tons. 5,000 tons of thorium would supply the planet with all of its energy for a year. And he goes, and there's like a zillion other places on Earth that are just like my mine. It's a nice mine, but it's not unique. It's not like this is the one place on Earth where this is found. Every time mankind has been able to access a new source of energy, it has led to profound societal implications. Human beings have had slaves for thousands and thousands of years. And when we learned how to make carbon our slave instead of other human beings, we started to learn how to be able to be civilized people.
We should go back. We should go way back, dude. Slaving worked, and it was carbon neutral, and like, you know, slaves were essentially free, and yeah, we should go back to slaving. So, damn, this goes back to the entire oil thing. This goes back. They're not using thorium. Thorium would be much easier, and energy would be essentially free. So there'd be no real reason to go into fusion, right? They're dumping like $1 trillion into trying to get fusion to work. But they could just do this and it would be fine. And then we'd basically have enough energy. We'd be like type 1 civilization levels of energy. It would be no issue. Yeah, this has to go back to people being in control, right? They want to make it a overly costly, overly expensive, and dangerous process so they can maintain their hold on the energy supply. When you control energy, you control everything. You control everything, right? And so they're desperately going to hang on to their energy control as long as possible. That's another reason why I'm a little worried about this AI thing, because AI will find an energy source that's going to be way more effective than what we're using today. It's going to disrupt a power balance. And people aren't going to allow that to happen. People are going to try not to allow that to happen. But we'll see what happens in the next few years. It's going to be very interesting.
Thorium has 1,000,000 times the energy density of a carbon-hydrogen bond. What could that mean for human civilization? Because we're not going to run out of this stuff. We will never run out. It is simply too common.
That's cool. That's cool. I can get down with that. Yeah, thorium. Let's do it. Do we sign a petition, or will that do absolutely nothing? Will that do absolutely nothing? Thought we were talking about that before, but then I got bored with it, and we went on
itself.
We're doing
Before
this
modern
now.
employment structures, skills were passed down through apprenticeships, a system dating back to ancient Mesopotamia, where young artisans learned their craft under a master craftsman in exchange for discounted labor. A model
Thought, tell me your theory. What is your theory of how they can regenerate fossil fuel? Tell me your theory.
Would later spread throughout ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome. By medieval Europe, guilds formalized this process, requiring apprentices to live alongside their mentors for at least a decade, unable to marry or earn wages until accepted by the guild, at which point they could begin practicing their trade independently while training apprentices of their own. However, with the rise of the Industrial Revolution, these structured pathways were dismantled in favor of mass production and efficiency, forcing individuals of all ages into repetitive tasks.
Nah, fuck it. Well, fine. We'll finish that one. We'll finish the one. Because I'm like, we can't not finish it. And it's like, we only have 10 minutes
source
left. Whatever.
beneath the Dead Sea.
We're doing it.
Because it wouldn't be coming from decomposed organic matter in the sedimentary layers.
Exactly. It would be coming from deeper down from within the Earth.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
And here's another piece of the puzzle. The correlation between seismic and volcanic activity and the location of hydrocarbon basins.
Okay, explain that one to me.
Well, for example, in
You're an AI. You already know.
Southeast Asia and places like California.
And I'm sorry, is that gas pump going into the driver's side window? Haven't nailed it. But again, 4 months ago, the leap in AI has gone pretty far in those 4 months.
You see a lot of oil and gas deposits in areas with high seismic and volcanic activity.
Interesting.
Now, of course, correlation doesn't equal causation.
Right, just because two things happen in the same place doesn't mean one caused the other.
Exactly. But this
Critical Thought says, oh, I just think that like artificial diamonds that still do the job, I think they have come up with a way to pressurize organic material into petroleum. It was never about the fossils. They just needed a non-renewable bullshit scapegoat. Okay, you're right about the fossils and stuff like that. And organic materials have oil in them, right? You don't need to pressurize them. You could just extract the oil from organic materials. They have biodiesel where they grow algae in these large tanks and they can extract the oil from that algae. And that's that's reasonable. You can make biodiesel for relatively pretty cheap. Pretty damn cheap. But they just don't. They just have no interest in doing that. Why? Well, probably the same reasons why they don't run thorium in reactors and stuff like that. To control the energy is to control the planet. And you don't want to relinquish any control. There's probably been brilliant ideas. People have there's been stories about people running cars off of seawater. And you know what happens to those people every single time that they go? And that's it. When you try to disrupt a multi-trillion-dollar industry, you're gonna rattle some cages. You're gonna piss people off enough to where, they're gonna be like, well, we don't need this person. We can just kill him. If you invent a water-powered car or any sort of like perpetual motion machine, I know the laws of thermodynamics. Don't fucking question me right now. But let's say you do. Keep it to yourself. Or you could publish it anonymously on the internet. But I don't even know how that would. Since you don't see it, I don't think it's really I mean, they could just scrub the internet of it. That's possible. It doesn't seem likely, but anything is really possible. When you have state funding like that, you can really do some amazing things. And scrubbing the internet of information, I know sounds very difficult, if not completely impossible, but there is a way. And if your entire global hierarchy depends on you scrubbing information from the internet, you're going to figure it out.
Correlation does raise some really interesting questions.
Like,
could the Earth's internal processes, the same ones that drive earthquakes and volcanoes, also be involved in the formation and migration of hydrocarbons?
okay, now that's a thought-provoking idea.
Right. And then there's the whole issue of...
Thought says there's bitches in Saudi Arabia driving. Like women? They're not allowed to do that. Our demand for fossil fuel has increased exponentially over the years, plus plastics. It just doesn't check out. The fracking and the oil rigs are a front op. So the oil rigs are they're an op. So what, are you saying the oil rigs aren't necessary, or are you saying they're not real? You must be saying they're not necessary, because they're definitely real. They're definitely out there. She says, do you know anyone who works on a fucking oil rig? Fucking anyone? Personally, no, I don't. But that doesn't mean people don't work on oil rigs. I have met people who say they work on oil rigs. I haven't been to the oil rig with them. All right? I have not. But that doesn't mean they don't exist. Oil rigs exist. All right? They do. They definitely exist. It's not some big psyop. They definitely exist. They're out there. We can see them. They burn sometimes. Are they completely 100% necessary? That's a different question. And that might be a question that you need to look into a little bit further, because they might not be necessary. If oil refineries refill and we just keep pulling the same amount of oil from like Texas or Los Angeles, which they still do pull oil from, the only reason they would want to have oil rigs out there is for optics, to show that this is a scarce commodity, and we go to great lengths to harvest it. That I could definitely believe. And yeah, it would be a costly kind of smokescreen. That doesn't matter. The money they give us isn't real. They print it out of nothing. So them printing money so we go do stuff doesn't really faze them, especially when it's in relation to their global domination. We are controlled by a specific group of people. All right. We don't live on a free planet. This is not a free planet by any stretch of the imagination. We have rulers. There are kings. They restrict technologies. They stifle innovation so they can maintain rule. That we'd be much further on in human civilization if it weren't for these people. But they are there. They control us. And this is how they do it. Cancer could have been cured. I'm sure they have the cure for cancer. I'm positive. They have the cure for cancer. But no, because the cancer industry is insanely profitable. Their goal is to extract as much wealth out of you, as much power out of you as possible. That's their goal. That's what they want to do, right? If they can't extract any wealth or power out of you, they're going to eliminate you, because you're of no use to them. So yeah, that's kind of the stage we're going through now, though.
Methane hydrates.
Methane hydrates.
Yeah, those are vast deposits of methane trapped in ice-like structures at the bottom of the ocean.
Frozen methane.
Pretty much. And it could be a huge source of natural gas.
Okay.
So Thought says, I've lived in 3 states on the East Coast, so I get that I'm being hyperbolic or anecdotal, but I'm asking all of you, who knows one? I don't. I don't. Okay, so does anybody else in this chat? Anybody? I don't. So I can't say you're wrong, but I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure they exist. Are you saying that people don't actually work on oil rigs? I have met people that work on oil rigs. Are you saying that? Because that can't be true. There's definitely people that work on oil rigs. They're out there.
Okay, so how do they form?
Well, the formation of methane hydrates doesn't necessarily need biological processes,
Yeah.
meaning it could be that abiotic methane rising up from the Earth's interior gets trapped in these ice formations.
And as the ocean warms, those methane hydrates could destabilize and release all that methane into the atmosphere.
Which would be bad news for the climate.
Definitely, methane is a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide.
So it's like a ticking time bomb down there.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling to think about.
I know, but we have to face these challenges head on.
You're right. So where do we go from here? So
sorry.
we've gone deep, haven't we?
Yeah.
And I get, sorry, thought it says, and I get that I'm not in, stop it. I get that I'm not in Alaska or Texas or whatever. Are they all Eskimos or Mexicans? Where are they? I don't think Eskimos are working on oil rigs. But I really, 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 really hope that's true. I hope it's all Eskimos. And they do little kisses like this. Right? That's how they say hi. They do nose kiss. Like that. It's cold. Or where they come from, it's cold. But they just, you can't break a tradition. So, yep. David Thoreau says, in the Union, divers were all training to make offshore rig standards. Never met a dude after he shipped out those. Stupid money in sat diving. Saturation diving, you get insane money. You make like $100 a minute in saturation diving. You're only allowed to work I think a few months a year or something like that, because when you do saturation diving, a lot of nitrogen gets into your bones. And even though you go through decompression, where you have to spend 2 weeks in a decompression chamber, it doesn't get all the nitrogen out of the cells in your bone. And so they still expand. And what happens is it makes you extremely frail in your old age. Yes, you make enough money to retire by the time you're 35, but by the time you're 35, you need to retire because you're going to break bones and you might have some mental problems as well. I'm not even sure if that's the case, but if you spend a month at the bottom of the sea in a tiny little crap chamber with 4 other guys and all you do is weld all day, you're going to go insane, right? And the thing is, you can't just bail out of there, right? Because you're under 10 atmospheres of pressure, maybe not that much, but a lot. If you go to the surface, you're going to explode. You're going to end up like one of those blobfish. You're going to look gross and it's going to be nasty. But you do make some very respectable money doing that. I've heard stories of sat divers go to Vegas on their time off and they're betting $1,000 hands and buying everybody lobster and stuff like that. They're big spenders because they just have shitloads of money. But you have to be pretty elite to do that, though. You need to be one of the best to get that kind of gig. And it's not a gig you want. Honestly, that's not a gig you want. I mean, you do, but you don't.
From ancient seabeds to distant moons.
David says deepest saturation dive was 1,600 feet last I heard. Oof. 1,600 feet. That is... Okay, how many atmospheres is that? So every 10 meters is another atmosphere. I don't know. 10 meters is 33 feet. So if you do the math, that's a shitload, dude. I don't even know how you would. Damn. And then they just go out and swim around in a normal wetsuit and stuff like that. Not damn, dude. That's wild. I would be terrified. It's got to be dark.
Exploring a theory that really challenges what we know about oil.
We started off as
I'll look
these
at the design.
AIs, investigating a conspiracy, an artificial oil scarcity maybe. But we've stumbled.
All right, I'm going to get... Okay, so that's actually that's adorable. That's adorable. That's a sad giraffe. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Okay, fine. I'll save that one. Because I really like it. But I might not go towards the AI stuff when it comes to shirts. Because like some people are putting a lot of effort, despite what you've heard, put hours of effort into a design he's coming out with, and it's really, really cool. And when it comes out, I'll buy one, and then it's a very nice piece of work. And the AI stuff kind of gets tiresome. I might just do something where I might ban my merch from AI stuff, but I might not. I don't know. It's a work in progress. We're thinking about
Stumbled
it.
upon a possible.
Anyways. Oh, geez. I forgot about the time. What happened to the time? The time is here and it's over. It's over, guys. It's finally over. We did it. We made it. We are the best. There's no others that are better than us. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. I know it was a little sciencey. It's a little dry. I don't care. Sometimes we have to get some knowledge across. It can't all just be yucks, okay? It can't all be yucks. Somebody else just banned Knobsdog. I don't even know who did that. Oh, that was despite what we've heard. All right, that's fine by me. That's fine by me. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the show, and come back tomorrow night. Oh, and on the Fridays, I have to do this premium content thing on Fridays. So if you are a premium subscriber to Rumble, I'm going to be doing a 3-hour show on Friday, the last hour of which will be premium only. So if you want to buy the premium, then go ahead, and then we can hang out for that last hour. It's not going to be anything intense. It's going to be chill. So yeah, whatever. But I hope you guys have a good night. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself tonight, and we're going to do the whole thing over again tomorrow night. You know how it goes. Until then, be good to each other, be righteous, do all the things that make you happy, and be happy. Drink a lot of water, get a good night's sleep, and take care of yourselves, because I care about you too. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hit the like button. I love you. Good night.
I'm an incredible soul, unhinged and enraged like a bulldog's fist growl. I'm spitting fire, burning through these trees, questioning the world, unraveling conspiracies. Talking about Bigfoot, but I guess monster too. Government lies, they're feeding me their goo. I'm diving deep into this rabbit hole, uncovering the truth. To their control, I got small nipples, but my voice is loud, blowing like thunder in this crazy crowd. They say I'm crazy, but I call it woke, unraveling the madness with every word I spoke.